What is up, everybody? This is your guy Kalai, and welcome back to Budget Buys. This is video number 5 in the Bugha series, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Bugha LED gaming microphone. Sadly, I'm not going to be getting any bonus points in this video because fivebelow doesn't really carry microphones. At least not anymore. For now, let's flip the box and see what we have to look forward to. Fortunately, this is a product that's pretty self-explanatory. It has a mic, an RGB LED light, an on-off switch, an adjustable neck, a USB connector, and a braided cord. As for the specifications, the microphone is a unidirection ECM, and for the curious, ECM stands for Electret Condenser Microphone. It has a sensitivity of -53 decibels plus or minus 3 and has an impedance of less than or equal to 2.23 ohms. And here we have everything in the box. Notice how this time I didn't make a joke about not including the manual? Well, that's because the mic didn't actually come with one. Fortunately, it's just plug and play. You stick the USB connector into the port on your computer, or if your console accepts USB microphones, you could do that as well. Let the drivers install themselves and you're good to go. You also get Bugha collector card number 2. But that's not the important thing here. Instead, we're here to look at the microphone. This style of microphone is called a gooseneck mic, and it gets its name from this feature right here. And I'm very pleased to see that they went with a high quality, flexible metal gooseneck. This is one that will hold pretty much any position you put the mic into. What's also nice is that it does indeed have that on-off switch, which when you press it down, not only turns on the LED effect, but also turns on the microphone feed itself. Now, here's the part that I've been putting off by rambling about all of the other features on this microphone. It's time to turn on the feed. Alright, I've gone ahead and repositioned the capsule a little bit so it's pointing towards my face, and I'm standing about a foot or so away from the mic while projecting my voice directly at it. And I also have the microphone on maximum volume, so this is as good as we're going to get unless I have it up to my face, which I'll do shortly. Now, this is very similar to the configuration most people are going to have this set up as. The mic on your desk, your mouse and keyboard nearby. So, because I know you're really enjoying the sound we've got going on here, let's just do a quick click test to see if it picks anything up. And then pick up the microphone so that we can see how it sounds with the proximity effect, one of my favorite audio tricks. And this is what I sound like, maybe 6 or so inches away from the microphone. I'm talking directly at the capsule. Well, actually I'm talking off to the side a little bit. It's called talking off axis, and this keeps me from breathing directly on the microphone. It's a nice trick to use if you don't have a pop filter. Now, let's unplug this and break down what just happened. So, let's break down what happened. First off, there was a constant sound at -36 decibels. It was in every single test recording I've done, and there's just nothing I could do about it. Well, technically I could use the noise removal tool in Audacity in order to get rid of it, but it still leaves behind a slight whine, and because of the profile of the noise that I'm trying to remove, Audacity starts making my spoken words sound a little bit off. You don't want that. I could do another pass of noise removal in order to get rid of the whine, but that makes my words sound even worse, so you definitely don't want to do that. And of course, if you're doing something like a live stream, it's even harder. You could use a program called a noise gate, which basically tells your computer to ignore the feed from your microphone unless it hits a certain volume point. So if I wanted my volume to sound like it does right now, I'd set my gate to not turn on for anything under around -24 to -18 decibels. Of course, since I do have a series dedicated to reviewing microphones, I did try everything in my power just shy of opening this up and messing around with the circuitry in order to get rid of that noise. I've tried putting ferrite chokes on the cable in order to mitigate interference, and That did nothing. I've tried using a USB noise isolator, which allows me to hook up an external battery power supply in order to get much smoother power than USB typically offers. That did nothing. In fact, it actually made it worse. And I even hooked it up to a USB port replicator. That thing is basically a USB hub on steroids with its own dedicated power supply. I've even tried hooking it up to various computers. Desktops, laptops with the power cable disconnected just in case, and nothing. Each and every time the noise came back. And because I like to go above and beyond, I even went out to my local Five Below and picked up another mic, just to make sure I didn't get one from a bad production batch. This is actually why I've had a little bit of delay in releasing some of these videos. And I'm sad to say, this also has the exact same faults. And that brings me to my theory about what the issue actually is, because it doesn't sound like a grounding issue, which is what the bulk of those devices off to the side are actually meant to handle. It also doesn't sound like it's picking up interference, though if I have it plugged in and recording and I grab the gooseneck anywhere, it definitely makes the trademark interference squeal. Instead, it seems like they just did a poor job designing the circuit that goes into the motherboard. It kind of just seems like they took a basic USB sound card and directly soldered the microphone to the board at the audio input. And while that would technically work, since these are meant to be driven off of relatively low voltage, depending on the sound card that they have inside of this thing, it's going to be very quiet. And I think they went with a firmware workaround. So there's some kind of digital gain boosting going on in there. I have encountered that in other microphones in the past. And of course, if you're doing digital gain boosting instead of analog gain boosting, you're going to be bringing up all of the lovely background noise as well. I'm also going to say they went with as cheap of a card as possible because these things are locked at 16-bit 32 kilohertz audio. This is also referred to as FM radio quality audio. Now, to put that into perspective, most low-cost USB microphones are going to be recording at 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz, also known as CD quality audio, while anything in the $30 and up range is going to be recording at 16-bit 48 kilohertz, also known as DVD quality audio. Fun fact, that's what I'm recording in right now. Of course, there has been a trend recently for the $50 and up microphones to start recording at 24-bit 192 kilohertz, also known as studio quality audio, but those don't always use the best hardware, so even if you're getting a high sample rate, you're not getting great audio, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut that tangent short. Now, I do think there's a pretty cheap fix, though they will have to change one or two things about how they have this hooked up. The simple fix would probably be putting an amplifier circuit somewhere between the microphone capsule and the actual audio card. And that's cheaper than it sounds. I actually have this pre-assembled microphone amplification circuit that I picked up on AliExpress for about $1.50 plus a little bit of shipping. But we're not going to count the shipping for a wholesale scenario, especially when these are all going to be going to the country of origin anyway. And you don't even need the pre-assembled circuit. You can just get the components and integrate them into the board, or just set them in there off to the side. All you need to do with this is run a little bit of power right here, which I would take the power connection from the USB cable and then solder it here as well as to the motherboard. It provides more than enough wattage to run both. Next up, all you need to do is solder this connection right here to the output on the microphone and solder this connection to the input on the motherboard. And you've got an amplifier. Just toggle the little volume potentiometer right there and you're good to go. And that amplifier circuit is pretty much necessary to get decent audio quality because you want the microphone's feed to be as loud as possible before it hits the sound card. That way you can turn the sound card down to reduce the noise as much as possible while still keeping your voice audible. It's the same principle that goes into audio mixers and preamplifiers. I know all of this because that's pretty much what I did when I built the microphone I used when I first launched my channel. Fun fact, This cost me $10 to make, and that includes a ton of leftover parts. I've probably got enough leftover bits to make 2 or 3 more of these mics. So it's going to be much cheaper in an industrial setting. I think I've ranted at you long enough for this, so let's go ahead and wrap things up. My opinion? Avoid this microphone. You can get similar microphones on Amazon with much better audio quality for around the same price, maybe $1 or $2 more. Heck, some of them even have RGB LEDs in the base like this one, which I should add is my least favorite out of the collection. And they even sometimes include volume controls so you can adjust how loud your microphone is on the fly. Now, I do think that this review might rub some of the people at fivebelow corporate the wrong way, but at the same time, I do think it's possible to get a decent microphone into fivebelow, especially since they've increased their pricing scale up to $10 for premium items, and I would totally be willing to take on an advisory position for such an endeavor. Just saying. On that note, until next time, this is your guy Cly, signing off.